I read 3 books in January. Here is them. Let's talk about it. The first book I read in January was If We Were Villains by ellaloux. This book shifted something in me. It took me a really long time to read. I think like the first half took me a few weeks. It was just quite slow. But once it kind of got going, I was hooked. Every night I'd be like, no one told me, it's reading time. I have to find out what happens. The book's almost split up into 2 mysteries. Around the halfway point you find out kind of what's going on, and the second half is finding out like the details, I guess, but there is still a big mystery. This book is beautifully written. I loved it so much. If you have not heard about it, it is about a guy who, at the very start of the book, you find out has just been released from jail. And the story kind of jumps back 10 years, and then every now and then we see him in current day. It was so interesting the way that the story unraveled. I'll be honest, I don't read much mystery, and so this really intrigued me, and I do want to start reading more mystery. I had a great time with this. I did guess kind of where it was going, especially for the second half, but there were still things that caught me by surprise, especially the last page. I'm gonna be pretty vague just because, you know, I don't want to spoil it, but the last page of this book left me just kind of blankly staring at a wall. Like, I had to just sit with it for a while and process what I had just read. It definitely left me wanting a sequel, but also I'm really glad that there's not one. I think it kind of adds to it that you don't get to find out if anything happens once the story's done. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. It would have been higher if I had been able to really get into it earlier in the book. I feel like I spent a long time just kind of reading it for the sake of reading it. It took a while to get interesting, but I still really loved this book. I don't give 4 stars very often, so this was pretty good. The next book I read, however, was 5 stars. I can't remember the last time I gave a book 5 stars, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have had this on my TBR for a long time. I have owned a physical copy for quite a while as well. But I finally picked it up. One night I was going to have a bath and thought, you know what, let's read. Picked it up. I read half of it that night, woke up the next morning and finished it. This book was incredible. There are some trigger warnings for this book. I recommend looking up before you do read it, but this was incredible. I am kind of at a loss for words. It made me excited to be reading, which doesn't happen very often anymore. I was hooked, captivated. The story's not a mystery exactly, but there are a few questions along the way that kind of keep you searching, and I kept coming up with all these different theories. There's one thing that happens towards the end that I kind of saw coming, but I just had no idea. Okay, so I just read the back of the book, so I don't count this as a spoiler, but it does mention why her, why now. So basically there is this girl who has been contacted to tell the life story of this like old Hollywood starlet, and one of the big mysteries is why her and why now. And that is one that I would never have guessed. Like, I had theories along the way and none of them were right exactly. There were elements that I was right about, but oh my god, when that hit, it was just like, oh my god. I kind of could see where the actual story of Evelyn Hugo was going. I had seen spoilers and things, but this was incredible. I actually picked it up when I did because there is a TikTok sound that was going around, and the whole time reading I was like, did I miss it? Like, there's this line from the book that seems so iconic and it's just not here. It was the last line of the book. which just blew me away. Again, that was a 5 out of 5 for me. That book was incredible. The last book that I read in January was Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. It was okay. This is a copy I borrowed from one of my friends months ago. I told her I'd get it back to her in a week. It has genuinely, I think, been 3 months. But I had wanted to read at least one more book in January, but I needed it to be something I could get through fairly quickly because a book was coming out on the 31st and I needed to read it. So I read Delilah. I kind of didn't give this book the attention that maybe it deserved. I think that I ended up being more focused on finishing it than actually taking it in. It was good fun though. It was a tropey romance, which I love. I know a lot of people kind of speak down towards tropes, but I think they are so fun. If I had known that this book had the there's only one bed trope, I probably would have read it sooner. But yeah, it was good fun. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was just a good bit of fun. But that's all I read in January. I think it was a good reading month. I am already behind in my reading goal though, so that's all I've got for you today. You can subscribe, you can like this video, let me know what your favourite read of the month was, and I will see you next time. Bye. The last book that I read in, I nearly said February. The last book that I read in February. Hey. Oh, that's a big stretch. Yeah. 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 You smell so bad.